5 killed in horror crash. Victim of brutality dies. NPC Sevens kick off.
This is National MTV News with Merkel.
Good evening and welcome to Saturday's news. Thomas and Antonia Yano are grieving parents still trying to accept the death of their son Jeremiah. Jeremiah Yano lost his battle on Wednesday while in a coma after allegedly being beaten up by PNG Defence Force soldiers earlier this year. Both parents say they will now be pushing for murder charges on the soldiers implicated. Mickey Cavera reports.
This is Jeremiah Yano's family home. It is where he grew up, but for the past 2 months he has been in a coma in the intensive care unit at the Port Moresby General Hospital. Jeremiah slipped into a coma after being allegedly beaten up by soldiers during the Killa Secondary School cultural show in July this year. He was at that time doing his grade 11 at the Salvation Army Secondary School in Corky, Port Moresby. It's a great loss to the family and one his parents are finding it hard to deal with. Now that Jeremiah is gone, they will be awaiting the results of a post-mortem before proceeding with further charges on the soldiers involved.
Like it was there on attempted murder charge right now. Okay, with this death, we will murder charge, and we'll be waiting for the post-mortem report from the doctor before we can.
The soldiers implicated have since been out on bail and on active duty. The family says this is unfair to them and they want the soldiers suspended from duty pending their court case.
All defense force soldier work le bagara pin plan ti line things. Only go Brooklyn Ausik medical faculty only go fight him on kila line. Na defense force headman glongolia or postman glongol or looking something. Na lo pikini blomi ol bokimia. All even come to talk lo mitugla lo bol meki monem lo dislo mani wokim lo pikini blomi tugla.
Jeremiah's death has again raised questions on the recruitment process of soldiers, which the family says must be reviewed and changed. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
The Australian government has donated a new vehicle to the Port Moresby General Hospital as part of its ongoing support to gender violence care in the country. This bus will enable the Family Support Centre to transport their clients after hours. This donation is part of a $58 million program that will also include the renovation and extension of the centre's facilities. The Prime Minister ONeill Foundation has stood by its commitment to build 3 more sanitation facilities throughout Port Moresby. The initiative behind the Waswas House project is to improve the health and hygiene within communities. Sanitation facilities will be rolled out in the city and also in the country.
Poor sanitation facilities are common in many communities throughout Papua New Guinea. This contributes to poor health and hygiene among children who die from preventable diseases such as diarrhea. The PM ONeill Foundation is making it a commitment to improve these indicators through their Waswas House or Wash House project. Yesterday, the Prime Minister Peter ONeill visited the ATS settlement, Korobosia village and Hanua Bada village to launch 3 sanitation facilities.
Many of you may not know that I grew up in a village in the first 16 years of my life, in the very remote area of Southern Islands province, up in the highlands, where there was no clean water, there was no clean toilets, there was no access to this kind of facilities. Of course, so we were in a very bad environment. And because of that, many of them got sick, some of the young children died. And that is why I don't want similar things to happen for our young people and young population of our country.
Each of these facilities cost 250,000 kina to build. ONeill told the people that his government believes in promoting free health and education. As such, the work of the foundation complements his government policy in having a healthier and educated population.
Our government continues to place an importance on education and health. That is why we have rolled out free education, free health as our #1 priority for our country. We have been able to do that for the last 3 years. We will continue to do that.
He says the foundation will continue to build more of these facilities in communities throughout the city and the country. The foundation was set up in 2013 and is run by a group of volunteers. Much of their work is funded through funds received from business houses in the country. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
To our top story now, and the baby is a lone survivor from a horror crash this afternoon which has claimed 5 lives. Lay's Cassia Crescent Road was a horror scene at 3 p.m. this afternoon after a car ran off a residential area and hit a family walking on the road's edge. Police, firemen and Anga hospital staff worked to remove the remains of 2 bodies that were split in half. Bethany Harriman reports.
At 3 this afternoon, Lay's Cassia Crescent Road was closed off for nearly 3 hours. As shocked residents and authorities look on after this car accident.
Sometimes baby triple mol die. One time baby ball tupla merina, one baby ball mol die.
A baby was amongst those hit by the vehicle but survived. 6 women were killed, 2 of them split in half. They were pedestrians walking on the side of the road when the car hit them. It's understood that the passengers on the vehicle sustained serious injuries, but they all also survived. Police officers who inspected the vehicle's interior say there is evidence of drink driving. Lay firemen and Angal's ambulance were at the scene to collect the remains of the 2 women. The car traveling from Eriko was going at a high speed and it veered off the road, hitting the family. The family's items scattered around the scene of the accident. An umbrella hung from the nearby tree. Amongst the footwear of the adults was this one belonging to the baby. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lay.
You're watching National MTV News. Stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay with us. Turning overseas now, and Friday prayers in the West Bank quickly turned to violent protests. Palestinians marched on the streets of Gaza straight to a border fence. It is the latest in what Israeli Prime Minister calls a new wave of terrorism. Hamas calls it a new uprising. We warn viewers, some of the video in this report is disturbing.
Israeli riot police rushed forward, firing rubber-coated steel bullets, trying to disperse hundreds of Palestinian protesters in El Bire on the West Bank. This was the day of rage Palestinian leaders called for to protest Israeli policies on the Temple Mount, or the Haram al-Sharif as it's known to Muslims, side of the Aqsa Mosque. As long as we don't have Al-Aqsa and don't have a country, vows protester Noor, we'll stay here and fight this intifada. Israeli forces fired volley after volley of tear gas, while trucks sprayed copious quantities of what's known as skunk water, putrid-smelling, chemically treated liquid intended to disperse crowds. The crowd dispersed, but quickly regathered and went back to throwing stones. The protests spread to Gaza, where Israeli forces killed at least 7 Palestinian demonstrators, wounding more than 90, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent. At Friday prayers in Gaza, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh praised what he called the heroes of knives and lone attacks, saying that the battle for Jerusalem is our battle. And there were more such attacks. Outside the Israeli settlement of Kiryat Arba in the West Bank, a Palestinian man was shot dead after he tried to stab a police officer and grab his weapon. While in Afula, an Israeli town just north of the West Bank, an Israeli Arab woman was shot multiple times by off-duty security personnel. Police say she had taken out a knife, although it's not clear in the video what she's holding. Reacting to the incident, an Israeli Arab member of the Knesset accused the Israeli police and media of encouraging execution of Arabs in cold blood, all contributing to tensions at a fever pitch.
Heightened security is continuing in and around all of the country in the different areas, including major cities, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and in the south.
And against this backdrop, the few appeals for calm are being drowned out by the roar of clashes.
The German Chancellor Angela Merkel was one of the nominees for the Nobel Peace Prize, and with 10 years under her belt, she has now become one of Germany's longest-serving leaders. Merkel has been praised around the world for opening her country to refugees, but her popularity at home is beginning to fade.
They call her Mama Merkel. For some, she is the embodiment of European wealth and generosity, the leader who opened the doors for Syrian refugees to Germany and beyond. But for her harshest critics, Mama Merkel is a withering dismissal of weak leadership in the face of a crisis that threatens to end Europe's free borders. We took to the streets of the capital to find out what Germans really think of Mama Merkel.
She just said that everybody's welcome. That's good.
Coming from New Zealand, where we're not taking too many refugees in, we're actually really, we're in great admiration of what she's done.
Really?
And how many people she's opened the doors for.
The idea behind is, of course, to help, which is always good. But I don't think it's a good idea to tell the people, come over, we want you, you know, and then after 4 weeks, we start to close down. And what's the idea behind it? So that doesn't seem to be a plan.
That concern has dropped her popularity to its lowest point in recent years. For a chancellor that's been in power for 10 years and possibly hoping for another term, that is not good news. The problem? Too many refugees. Germany now expects as many as 1 million to apply for asylum this year alone. Up to 10,000 a day are crossing the border into Germany. Many initially applauded her warm welcome, but with school gymnasiums, festival tents and churches across the country now overwhelmed, many are wondering how the country will cope. Merkel insists she is coming up with solutions, devoting $6 billion to refugee housing and integration, proposing transit zones in Turkey, Hungary and Greece to slow down the number of refugees. In the meantime, however, Mama Merkel may find Germany is not prepared to provide such a warm welcome anymore.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll have highlights of the Provincial Rugby Sevens Championship and the finals of the Oceania Women's Under-20 qualifier between New Zealand and Samoa.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To Rugby Union and the 2015 National Provincial Sevens Championships kicked off today at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. 12 member associations from around the country are vying for the top spot. While defending champions Kimbe and favourites Port Moresby and Kimbe did not disappoint in the pool matches, the emergence of new associations have shaken up the competition. Skola Sengi reports.
Favourites Black Orchids opened their campaign with a 31-0 thrashing over East Sepik, then again defeating Gulf 33 points to 5 in the first of pool matches today. The championships has become an avenue to expose new rugby union member associations.
Boys now line back home, I think time where we play all boys when basa play out come back low bless na kirap back rugby low bless so yeah I think one play advantage low boys.
Among the new faces in this year's championships, Manus and East New Britain will use their appearance in an effort to revive the code in their respective provinces.
Interest big club, but look at time low. Yes, we have 1 or 2 only still starting to teammate. And plenty more plenty only Sumatin, even our teachers come inside interesting.
We get boys around in 2 weeks preparation because we couldn't get our boys from outer units in. So we got the only guys from one of PIR, that's Toronto Barracks, and also within Murray Barracks area, and also our Navy guys down at Basilis. We get them together and 2 weeks only. We prepared for 2 weeks in training, and then here we are at the NPC.
In the women's matches, defending champions Spartans flogged Crusaders 58 points to 0 before they held Barbarians scoreless for a 39 points to 0 win. Both Port Moresby and Kimber men's teams have secured a win and a loss in 2 pool matches. The championships will end tomorrow with the finals in the afternoon. Scholar Sengi, National MTV Sports.
To soccer, and New Zealand has beaten Samoa 10-0 in the final match of the 2015 Oceania Women's Championships in Tonga. New Zealand has now qualified for the Under-20 Women's World Cup in Port Moresby in October next year. Shane Saroya reports.
New Zealand's qualification for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in 2016 has been confirmed on the last day of the action at the OFC tournament in Tonga. The New Zealanders didn't have to take the field to book their 6th successive participation at the tournament. After nearest challenges, Samoa and Vanuatu played out a 3-3 draw to remain 4 and 5 points respectively off the pace heading into the final match day. New Zealand will seek 4th successive win today, having already won their 3 matches, scoring 59 goals in the process. New Zealand's qualification means they will feature alongside host Papua New Guinea next year, with the tournament to feature 2 OFC nations for the first time. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
And that's where we end Trukai Sports. We'll bring to you the weather details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. First of all, in the southern region, Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta, fine and dry. In the Momasa region, mostly fine for Lae, a few showers expected in Wau, fine and dry for Medang and Wewak as well as for Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, fine and dry for Lorengau, Keveng, Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine for Kimbe and brief showers expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, mostly fine weather over the next 24 hours. And there has been a renewal of a strong wind warning for all coastal waters and islands except for waters of Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border. Strong southeasterly surge of 20 to 34 knots are expected to persist for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas and high wind waves. All small craft and boats are advised to take necessary precautions before going out to sea. Before we go, a recap of our main headlines. 5 killed in a horror crash in Lae City. Jeremiah Yano, a student on life support, loses his battle. And the Provincial Rugby Sevens kicks off in Port Moresby today. And that has been the news for today, Saturday, the 10th of October 2015. On behalf of the MTV News team, pleasant viewing and good night.